Tonight we return to Nightwere at Christmas. Roger was bitten by a werewolf and now has this monster raging inside of him. We get to continue into chapter 2. If you dare.
Too old for this shit, the grizzled, dark-skinned man said from the television screen, the voice loud in the small room. You must be getting too old, too. Turn that down, Tina called from the other room, her voice carrying over the sound of the man sighing on the television. Roger snorted awake on the couch, having drifted off during the movie that was playing. As he shifted, the remote fell from his chest and crashed to the floor. Roger, would you please turn it down? Roger reached down and grabbed the remote, pointing it at the television until the screen went black. Thank you, Tina said as she came into the room. He smiled, looking up at the beautiful woman he married just shy of 20 years ago. 20 years, and he still loved watching her enter a room. He realized he was smiling his infamous dumbfounded smile when she returned a confused glare. What? Tina would always be the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. Even now, with streaks of gray hair that mixed with the long strands of brunette, and an extra pound or two making her hips a little wider, she would always be that young woman he fell in love with. His heart always skipped whenever she flashed her smile, or snorted when she laughed. She was perfection, and would always be what he saw when watching her. Just enjoying the view, he responded. Of course, he always loved to watch her, but from his current angle, as she stood over him, he was also talking about enjoying the view of her well-rounded breasts that were just above him. Silly man, she said, and shook her head as she turned to leave the living room. By the way, Billy called, needs you to cover tonight. That is, if you haven't started drinking yet. Oh, what'd you say to him? Roger asked, sitting up, pulling himself further from the nap he had been enjoying only a few minutes ago. There was a faint fog to his thoughts, but it was still early, and he had not yet opened his first beer of the afternoon. I told him you were passed out on the couch. And he said that the shift starts at 6, so you have time to have seconds and room for pie and still make it in. Also said the Lions are going to win, so there's no point in watching the game. I'm sorry, hon. You know I tried. I wanted to be here for everyone. Don't give me that. You know sure well that you had not already promised me you had requested a double shift to get out of being here by the time my parents arrive. I don't know what you're talking about. And with Aunt Dell coming, you were looking for ways to get out of this. I didn't put Billy up to this. I get that, and I believe it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Save some cobbler for me? Roger said as he stood and walked over to his wife. She was pouting as she leaned against the wall. He wrapped her in his arms and brought her to him. He could feel her warm breath on his cool, bare chest, and he held her tighter. Just go do your thing. You might as well get ready. Everyone will be arriving soon. I love you. Love you too. Billy, you bastard! You know I worked the last 3 holidays to get this off. This was important to her that I be there tonight. It's our first time hosting, and she's a nervous wreck. Roger could be heard, his voice booming through the building before he even rushed into the back office. The old man, who sat behind the desk, with his uniform ruffled and his eyes dark from lack of sleep, didn't look up at the oncoming storm of a man. Roger slammed the door behind him. Her parents are in town, and my parents, and now I left her all alone between the next big civil war. You know it's making her crazy. Billy finally looked up, letting out a long sigh as he met Roger's glare. I'm sorry, but I need you. You ever seen Christmas Vacation? Hell, I know you have. You've quoted it to me. Okay, so imagine that. Imagine a house full of that, and I just left my wife to deal with it on her own. I swear there's a full moon tonight or something, as we've already got twice the normal oddballs. I have Randy Quaid drinking my eggnog, Billy. It's a madhouse. The tree is on fire. I can't be here. Everyone I could get is out on calls, and they just keep coming in. Got a jackknife down on the interstate backing up traffic, and now animal control is calling. They've got some kind of thing up there in Meadowbrook. Something on the outskirts. I need you to ride with Smith out there and check it out. Thought she was riding with Ian. Ian's out on vacation. What the fuck? You call me in when she should be out with her partner? Yeah, his vacation's down in Florida. Took his family down to Disney World. Won't be back till after Christmas. Shit, Roger said, noticing that his new partner was on her way over to them. She probably heard him as he stormed his way in. Roger didn't know what it was that always made him uncomfortable around her. It's not like he had issues with female officers. It wasn't that. There was just something about her that always put him on edge, and now he had to spend the whole damn night with her. He should be home, having an extremely uncomfortable night with all his family. Hurry up, big boy, we got a boogie. They just found another body and the locals are starting to form a posse, she said, popping her head into the office without any concern for the closed door or that they had been having a private conversation without her. The damned woman didn't even knock, just opened, peeked in, and started talking. Roger tried not to look at her, so he was forced to keep his glare on his commanding officer. Billy didn't pay him any attention, as he let his glasses fall to his desk and pinched his nose, refusing to meet either of their eyes. You going or what? Billy said, finally looking up at Roger. Roger turned to see Smith already walking away. He could see her through the upper glass of the door, but tried hard to avoid looking at her butt as he did. The sheriff's uniform tried its best to conceal anyone's curves, but it had a hard time when it came to Officer Smith. Maybe that was what rubbed him the wrong way about her. There were plenty of female officers, but few that walked with the kind of swagger and confidence that Smith had. It was off-putting how she was always intimidating the other officers. She didn't talk like other women. She came across like one of the guys, just another bro getting ready to toss back a cold one. Roger did his best not to notice. As they went outside, she was already on the driver's side of the squad car, and he wasn't in the mood to argue. He got in just in time before she had the car in gear and was peeling out of the dirt lot. So what's the rush? Roger said, fiddling with his seatbelt as she tore out onto the highway going north. Locals have a bear or wolf that's gone wild. It's killed 3, and a 4th body was just found. And the forest rangers aren't handling this because those are the bodies that were found. Okay, so the forest rangers with their rifles are dead, torn up by some animal, and they're calling in the sheriff's department to deal with it? That don't add up. They've got more rangers coming in. No, we're on crowd control. 10 to 20 have gathered up there with rifles and are about to head into the woods. We're trying to keep them from getting killed. What's the rangers going to do that a group of local hunters couldn't? Not our call. Shit. Yep, we get to tell a bunch of rednecks with guns that they need to go home. How's that going to go over, old man? She said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She was teasing. He was trying to think of how he was going to explain this to them good old boys, because when it came down to it, those hunters would know this land better than any rangers coming from another area to assist. How long before we get to them? Roger said, running through a list of things he would try when they came time to talking to him. None of them were good. It didn't help that she had the lights flashing, and they're driving at breakneck speed. The way the car drove through traffic made it hard to think, as he kept seeing images of his life passing before his eyes. 5 minutes, maybe less. Traffic's light. Then do you have to go so fast? Yep, she said. Roger noticed that the teasing left her voice as she focused on the road. Something you're not telling me? Nope. This time she looked away briefly, and he thought she was turning to look at him, but her eyes fell on the glove compartment, then returned to the road. He was going to ask her about it before she pulled quickly to the right as they swerved onto a dark road that was leading into a wooded area. How she saw it in the dim light of the falling sun, He had no idea. "You seem like you know this area." "You could say that. Got family up here." She made another turn into a clearing. As she drove, he could barely see anything beyond the beam of the headlights. Every twist of the steering wheel had him clenching his sphincter, worried that she'd lost control, only to find that she had just missed a tree. Then he could see something. It started as a glow through the trees, but as they got closer, he could see shapes moving around them. Smith was letting the car slow, her foot no longer on the accelerator, letting them ease to a reduced speed. It gave Roger a chance to catch his breath as he thought she might be coming to a stop. Though what for, he had no clue. He wasn't even sure where they were. It was somewhere deep in the woods. She cut the flashing lights overhead. The surrounding area became darker now. The only light on the one-lane road was the squad car's headlights. Even with them slowing, the trees were flying by at an alarming rate. Then she spun the wheel. Roger called out in surprise as he braced himself in the seat with outstretched arms. It looked like she was turning them to crash. He didn't see anything other than the forest. So when they shot through a break in the trees into a clearing, it took a while for Roger's brain to catch up. He was anticipating the impact and wasn't sure just how she had needled her way through at the speed they were going. Roger didn't get a chance to relax, though, and knew he was about to shit himself as Smith did another turn of the wheel, this time to avoid colliding with the back of a jacked-up pickup truck. Then she slammed on the brakes. They came to a stop only a few feet from another large truck, and had she not turned the wheel when she'd started the maneuver, the trail hitch would have been through the passenger window and in Roger's mouth. His heart raced as he looked at the large silver orb not far from his face. His eyes were open wide as he tried to bring himself back to focusing on why they were out there and take in the surrounding scene. The area was lit up by large trucks parked at odd angles, all idling, headlights illuminating the whole clearing. She had pulled in between two that were parked off the entrance to some run-down bar. The clearing was the dirt parking lot. Smith had already rushed out of the car. Roger fumbled for the latch of his seatbelt, but by the time he was free, she was already halfway to a large group of men gathered around a flatbed. Each of them had rifles, barrels pointed up to the sky as they were reaching for items laid out on the bed. It didn't take much for them to realize they were loading up, grabbing whatever ammo they could, and whatever else they felt they would need to go on the hunt. Smith had called it in her estimate. There looked to be about 15 men, all dressed in hunting flannels, bright vests, and some kind of light source. These may have been rednecks, but they knew what they were doing when it came to hunting in these woods. Hell, many of these men probably knew these woods better than any park ranger that worked out there. What in the hell was he doing? Him, a city guy who never hunted. Roger had no business telling these guys no. He rushed to catch up to Smith, and he could hear that she was already getting yelled at by several of them, with one big hawking fella storming to meet her. "Hey now, hey!" Roger called out, trying to get the attention of the big guy, before the two of them got into each other's faces. Though, with Smith, getting into the other guy's face would mean staring up from his large chest, as the guy had nearly 1.5 feet of height on her, and easily 150 pounds. Roger realized he wasn't going to make it in time. He thought that maybe he could get the guy's focus off of her, but his shouting was going on deaf ears as the two both acted like he wasn't even there. "Hey, fat man," Smith said. "Hey, pistol," right before they hugged. Roger stopped running and finished walking up to them. So the big guy was happy to see her, but that didn't mean the rest of them shared his sentiment. Although as he watched them, many had already turned away from the scene and were back to loading their rifles. "Want to tell me what's going on?" Roger said to the pair. "Hunting party," the large man said. He was not as cordial to Roger. "And just what do you plan on hunting?" "You just don't need to worry your little head about that, Kay, now. Just go back to your car, tell them boys everything's fine. We got this all taken care of up here. No point in them sending out any park rangers just to get themselves killed. We know what's up here. We're going to get it all taken care of." "You know I can't do that," Roger said. "Lo, we came to talk these guys down, and by the time we got here, they were all in the woods. We're not going to be dumb enough to chase after a bunch of hunters in the dark woods. We're liable to get ourselves shot. So we let dispatch know we're just going to sit tight and radio in if there's any trouble." "Which there won't be, right, fat man?" Smith said. She had been talking to Roger, and he stared at her, flabbergasted. But then she turned to the large guy for that last part. "That's right. No trouble at all." With that, Smith turned from the conversation and headed over to the trailer bed. Roger watched as she started inspecting the ammo. Roger watched as she started inspecting the ammo the guys were loading. Half of them had finished up and paired off as they were walking into the woods. The rest of them were still loading and double-checking their pockets. "Got the right ammo?" she asked one of the younger guys. He was obviously nervous and nodded his head furiously. "Yes, ma'am. Silver-coated." "Good. You be careful out there. It's your first time, so stay with Jimmy and he'll watch you back. Look for glowing eyes. It's how you'll know. They'll have a golden glow." "What the hell's going on here?" Roger asked, calling over to Smith. She finished her inspection of the gear and was now swaying her way back to him. The big guy went back to the truck, passing her as he did. "It's okay, Lo. Come on. We couldn't catch these guys before they went hunting. We're just going to call that in and sit in the squad. Keep an eye out and make sure nothing goes bad." "You said that, but that's bullshit. What are you not telling me?" Roger said. "Nothing you need to know."
So I see you made it through chapter 2. Make sure to like and subscribe as we continue into more chapters next week. And if I don't see you then, I guess the Nightwere has gotten you. Stay spooky, everyone.